welcome to Visions. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Brigid Arthur, who is a Brigidine nun and is also helping to coordinate the Brigidine Asylum Seekers Project. Welcome to the program.
Thanks.
Can you tell us a little bit about your background, sister, or Brigid?
Well, I was brought up in the country, one of a family of 8. Went to a small country school until I was in grade 8, and then went to board in a school, still in a small country town. Eventually left school, and after some time, at the age of 19, I decided to join the Brigidine congregation.
Wow, that's so young. Did they join it earlier in those days, or?
Oh, probably, yes. Yeah. Yes, most people were younger.
And what attracted you to become a nun at 19?
Oh, I suppose I wanted to do some things that maybe would help some people. I wasn't sure that I would stay. I wasn't sure that that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But now I'm many years later, here I still am. So
how beautiful. And then what is the Asylum Seekers Project? What is that all about? And what are asylum seekers, for those who don't know?
First, what are asylum seekers? Asylum seekers are people who come to Australia seeking protection because they have been in a country where they're persecuted. And in order to stay here and become permanent refugees, they have to prove that they have been persecuted in their own country. So that's who asylum seekers are. And in terms of what our project tries to do, it's a small project, but it has 3 aims. One is to give material aid to asylum seekers. So for a start, when we started it about 7 years ago, it was perhaps more directed at the detention centres, and in particular the one here in Melbourne, where we tried to visit people and give them some help. But now it's more, because there aren't very many people in detention centres now.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it is good. So it's much more directed now to people who just arrive here, usually by plane, and who are seeking asylum.
I see.
So we give accommodation to about 20 or so single men. Or they mightn't all be single, but they are here because their families are overseas. We try to provide them with living expenses. We try to help them with study if they're allowed to study, with work if they're allowed to work.
And how did they find out about you? Did they find out about you from their country already?
Well, we work with a number of other organisations, so usually they get referred to us either by the Red Cross or the Asylum Seekers Resource Centre in West Melbourne, or just occasionally by Hotham Mission, the Asylum Seeker Project there, because we also work with them.
Right. Gee, that's such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's such a beautiful place for them to land and have some sort of comfort when they arrive.
We try also to advocate for them. Sometimes that means just going with them to the Immigration Department. Sometimes it might mean writing letters for them or whatever. And then we also network with those other organisations I've talked about,
Right. And what attracted you to get involved in the Asylum Seekers and Refugee projects?
Well, I've been a teacher most of my life and worked in schools, and I guess I worked for quite a long time in Sunshine West, Marion College in Sunshine West, and that was a school that had, and I lived out in that area too, and that was an area where there were a lot of people who were displaced people after World War II, and so I got to know a lot of people from Poland, the Ukraine, the Baltic countries, and I always found their stories just fascinating, like a world apart from anything that I'd ever experienced.
Anything here.
And they would tell me, about being walked to salt mines to work and then walking back again and living in Germany and then the end of the war, all that kind of stuff. And then various other groups of people came, like people from Chile, people from El Salvador, and the Vietnamese in hundreds, perhaps thousands.
Wow.
So all of their stories I found both very fascinating and also full of courage, and so I guess when I had a chance maybe to do something outside of school, it was a natural thing really to become really interested in asylum seekers and refugees.
And do you find any correlation between education and working with asylum seekers?
Yes, I think really the only way to change a whole society or to change our world, I guess, to make it a bit grandiose, is actually to educate people. That's why I get increasingly frustrated by the very narrow sorts of ways in which politicians and others talk about education, you know, as though it's only to give certain outcomes on an individual basis so that people can get more money for themselves or whatever. Whereas I think education is about giving tools to people to think critically, to enter into, you know, vicariously even into the lives of other people. It's about widening worlds, giving people a chance to know that the world's a much bigger place than just their own little backyard. So education's, I think, the answer to changing things for the future.
And how to get along with everyone harmoniously.
Yeah, that's right.
Because once we all get along, then things can be done so much better. And efficiently as well, if that's what the politicians are after. You can absolutely
and if we think that there are no differences, or that there should be no differences, everybody should be the same as me or us, then of course we're going to have wars, and of course we're going to, you know, continue to find things to fight about. But, you know, if we really think that there's huge richness in people being different and having different stories and coming at things from a different angle, that the very complexity is more difficult to cope with maybe, but it's a richness in itself, then maybe we, you know, could solve a few things. But,
I guess it depends on your attitude and the approach, because you can think of it as people being different from me, but they're enriching me, or they're more colourful, or in a way they're challenging, or there's always a positive approach to every angle, isn't there?
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. So you must have loved, you've had quite a full life, like teaching as well, and did you enjoy teaching?
I love teaching, yes, and I still see what I do as sort of education in a way.
It is.
You learn so that you can then talk to others and do things yourself in a different way. But yes, I always loved teaching. I'm not sure that all of those I taught loved me teaching, but I like doing it.
They might be seeing you now and saying, oh, there's my old school teacher.
That's right, and I remember when.
Well, we're about to go to a break now. We'll be back with more.
Thank you.
Stay with us. You're watching Visions. We'll see you again very shortly.